Hello, and it's part 3. I'm amazed we got to a part 3 because it's keeping me busy during the lockdown and giving me something to do. So part 3 of Ask George on the It's the George Life Instagram page. Don't know whether I'm putting this up on YouTube yet or on Instagram. I've got to find out a way to do that yet, but I thought I'd film the part 3 as I've got plenty more questions, which is good. So let's get stuck in. At Paul_Berry1 has asked, can we get a tour of the model car collection? Absolutely. I think I put a little poll on Instagram the other day because I'm not sure whether to do a YouTube video walking around the cars or an Instagram live. I thought Instagram live would be good because it doesn't cap how long the video can be, because Instagram seems to have like a hatred against anything that's over 10 minutes, but even on Instagram TV. So maybe an Instagram live, I might do that, or I might do it as a YouTube video. I've yet to decide, but let me know which you would prefer. And if it is Instagram live, then let me know what time or what day or what sort of period of time suits, and I'll make sure I do that for you. At Joe_Woolacott has asked, would performance enhancements devalue your F430 a lot? And what mods would you like to do, i.e. perhaps an exhaust system? It's a good question. Yeah, typically Ferraris don't like to be modified. If you modify a Ferrari, the purists tend to sort of criticise it and say, oh, it's not as it left the factory and that sort of thing. And I'm going to get that because I'm quite a lover of originality. I like the car to be original. The only things I ever consider doing to my car, I've pulled the exhaust valves out of it, so it's louder, but that's not really a modification. That's just kind of like messing with the equipment that's already there. There is an insane exhaust system you can get for the F430 made by Initech. It's called an IPE performance exhaust, and it makes it sound like a Formula 1 car from the 1990s. So, but it's like silly. It's thousands and thousands of pounds to do. So I don't think I'm going to be putting exhaust on it anytime soon. Another thing I'd like to do is wheels. They've never really liked the wheels on the F430. I always thought they looked a little bit fussy. So maybe there's another choice of wheels you could have called the monolithic or the lightweight wheel. And you saw it on the 599 GTB in the same period as well. You can get them for the F430. But again, it's the money, isn't it? I mean, would I like to change the wheels in the F430? Maybe. Would I like to change them for several £1,000s? Probably not. At Mr. JWW98 has asked, does the warranty and service interlink? I have got a warranty with my car. I got a 12-month warranty from the dealership I bought it from, but it's not like a Ferrari warranty or a manufacturer's warranty. It's one of those things, it's good to have it and hopefully not need it than need something like that warranty and not have it. And does it interlink with the service? No. So the service requirements by the manufacturer are sort of their own things. And whenever you take the car in for a service, they'll do a vehicle health check, and they'll point out some advisories of things that, you know, maybe to keep an eye on, things you might want to consider doing soon, and also maybe some items that need to be done straight away. And usually it's like suspension stuff or leaking fluids and things like that. So the warranty doesn't interlink with the service schedule at all. It's just a case of if something's broken on the car, maybe warranty would cover it if it's been picked up. But again, it's a conversation hopefully I won't have to have, but it's definitely something to bear in mind. Good question. At Tom Matten has asked quite a bunch of questions, and they're all brilliant ones. So he's asked, what was your favourite handover experience? My favourite handover experience, I've got to hand over some pretty cool cars in the 6 years I've been with Aston, you know, Zagatos and special editions and that sort of stuff. Handed over Shmee 150's GT8 at the Aston Martin factory in 2016, that was pretty cool. But I think my favourite handover experience in terms of what I really enjoyed, I had one customer who bought a DB11, and it was a year-long process because he was going to buy his DB11. The customer got taken quite ill, and he had to have quite a bit of surgery, and I kept in touch with that customer for months, for nearly, like I said, 12 months. From every other week, we'd stay in touch, have a phone call, have an email, backwards and forwards, until he got better. And then once he got better, we started looking at the market again, and we found a car that suited him. We got it in, and he got his driving license back, and yeah, it was a great emotional journey right up until fast forward a whole year later when he came to pick up his DB11 from me, and he kind of like sort of the idea of him getting that car and picking it up was sort of motivation for him getting better, and that was a sensational handover experience. So that was probably the most emotional one. But I've been fortunate enough to do quite a few. But that's one that really stands out for me. What was my favourite ever training course? So luckily, working with Aston, you get to do some cool training courses when a new model comes out and things. So I've done the training course for DB11 when it came out, the new Vantage. I've just come back from the DBX training course for the SUV. That was really cool. We got to do some cool off-roading and drive through the mountains in Wales with the DBX, but also the Lamborghini Urus and the Bentley Bentayga to sort of compare. So that was really cool. But I think my favourite one would be, it was actually 2 years ago this week. I was in Spain with Aston doing the Vantage training course. So we flew out to northern Spain, lovely hotel, but we had this Navarra race circuit, which is one of the World Endurance Championship circuits, and we got to drive the Vantage around the track along with a Porsche 911 Carrera GTS and an AMG GTS, and just really experienced what the car's all about. We also drove the old Vantage with the new Vantage to see how much things have progressed. So that was probably my favourite training course because it was in another country. It was quite nice. It was beautiful weather, and we got a mounting drive as well, and it was a 3-day course, and that was sensational. So that was probably my favourite training course. Again, that's two years ago today. Most scared I've ever been whilst driving, probably when I first started driving. When I first got into a car on my own, it was a great feeling of freedom, but also quite intimidating. And I remember, actually, which leads me on to his second question, which is, what's the worst accident I've ever had? Most scared while driving was my first experience of losing control of a car, which was my first car, which was a Toyota MR2, and it was in January because I passed my test during the peak of winter. I was coming down a road. I wasn't driving particularly fast, doing about 50 miles an hour, and I just hit ice. I had no idea what to do. I tried correcting it, and I think I just made it worse, and the car came off the road. It rolled over a couple of times, landed onto its roof, and then pushed me. I was in the car with a friend as well at the time, and it pushed both of us into the cockpit, into the sort of footwell of the car. That was absolutely terrifying because it was on a country road in the sort of the Oxfordshire sort of Cotswold sort of countryside. So once the whole accident was over, we were stuck in this car in pitch black, upside down, and yeah, that was absolutely terrifying. So that's probably the most scared I've ever been in a car. And obviously the worst and only accident I've ever had. And I think it makes you a better driver as well, potentially. You do learn from your mistakes, but if you can prevent yourself from being in those situations in the first place, that's all the better, of course. He's also asked, what was your worst passenger experience? Obviously, being a sales executive selling fast cars, you do a lot of test drives, so I always find it quite difficult sometimes, especially with someone you don't know. You meet someone in 5 minutes, and then you're strapping yourself into the passenger seat and giving them the keys to a 200-mile-an-hour car, and if they take advantage of that and they start driving really quickly, that makes me nervous. So I have been on some hairy test drives in various cars, but I can't think of one particular one that I definitely can't talk about on camera. But there are some test drives I've had which have been very, very hairy, and also especially when someone thinks they've got something to prove as well. So yeah, but it's all part of the job, I suppose. It's all part and parcel of becoming a sales executive. You've got to take that customer out in a car. You've got to give them the chance to drive it and get a feel for it. But unfortunately, some people think that's a license to drive it as fast as they can. All of the test drives we do are on the public road, and we try and adhere by the speed limits, but unfortunately some people choose not to, and that does terrify me. So, but I've been doing it for 6 years, so you just have a zero tolerance attitude to it, really. It's the best way to approach it. He's also asked, why don't you like dogs? It's not that I don't like dogs. I was attacked by a dog. I was staying with friends when I was, how old was I? I was probably 14 or 13 years old. And we were staying with friends down in Devon, and they had a massive Dalmatian. And we were coming back from the cinema, and they were getting stuff out of the car, and the dog was alone in the house, and I went into the house, and the dog sort of went for me. Maybe thought it was an intruder, but it pinned me down. Obviously, it didn't injure me or attack me in that way, but that kind of really shit me up. And I've always been kind of nervous around dogs since. But you know, I do like dogs. You know, I think they're great. My neighbour has a lovely dog that I'm very friendly with. But I just get quite nervous with dogs that I don't know. Maybe like a dog is quite nervous with someone it hasn't met. So maybe it's like a mutual thing. But it's not that I don't like dogs. I just get quite nervous around them at times, especially when they're big and scary. And he also asked one last question from Tom Matton. He said, one circuit and one car for 24 hours. I could just do laps and laps of the Nürburgring in something like a 250 GTO, a Ferrari 250 GTO, or a McLaren F1. Those sort of cars that you're never going to get to drive in real life. So if a genie came out a bottle and said you had one car, one circuit, be the Nürburgring, because it's so complex. It takes you, a good few minutes to get around it, and in something that I would know I'd never be able to drive again, like a McLaren F1 or a Ferrari 250 GTO or something like that, or a 250 LM. That I could just spend all day driving around. So give me infinite fuel and tyres and something like a McLaren F1, and I'll be a very happy man. So good questions. At Field Funny has asked 3 questions. He's asked a Ferrari 250 GTO or a Lamborghini Miura SV. I've always said the Miura is the prettiest car in the world. I've always said that. The Lamborghini Miura, I think, is just such a epitome of everything that's about a car, because the Miura wasn't designed to be a race car. It was just designed to be beautiful. And it wasn't very aerodynamic as a result. But I think the Lamborghini Miura SV is probably the prettiest car. But if someone gave me both cars and said, right, you can keep one, I probably would take the 250 GTO, just for what it is, the essence of what it is. V12, the value, of course, value aside, but it's just such a pretty car, great sound. If anyone's watched that Petrolicious video, where Phil Hill's son drives up a Californian highway that's closed in a 250 GTO, watch that video and you understand what I mean. That's something special. So, 250 GTO. What cars do I find most repulsive? I don't repulse cars. I love all cars, really. Even bizarre sort of 80s French hatchbacks and things. I just love all sorts of cars. There's a supercar, classic car, Italian, British, American muscle car, Japanese tuner car. I like all cars, so I don't find anything repulsive. Of course, there's some things I just don't get. I don't get electric hypercars, like the Pininfarina Battista and the other sort of electric hypercars that are coming through, like 2,000 horsepower. I don't get it. Educate me further, change my mind, but I don't get it, so I don't really find those interesting. I don't get dub cars, like slammed Volkswagens on tiny little 16-inch BBS wheels and things. I don't get that with bagged suspension. Again, I don't get it. I'm not saying it's rubbish, because obviously it's a car scene that I don't get, and there's obviously a culture behind it, and thousands of people can't be wrong that follow that culture. But it's just something I don't get. So there's nothing I find sort of repulsive as such. It's just I don't get it. He's also asked, what's the fastest I've ever driven? The answer on camera would be, I've driven the mile straight at Millbrook in a Bentley Continental GT Speed. I hit 178 miles an hour on the straight at Millbrook. So that would be the answer for that one. And that was in a brand new at the time. That was in 2014, Bentley Continental GT Speed. And at Imo Higson has asked, when can we see and take photos of your Ferrari? Obviously, when lockdown's over, I'll be taking it to Cafe and Machine. I'll be taking it to car shows and events with the Ferrari Owners Club and things. So can't wait for all that to kick off. Hopefully we can regain some of the summer with the car shows in June and July if this lockdown gets lifted, and it'll be out then. So thanks for the questions, guys. Appreciate it. It's given me something to look at and do. What I'll do is hopefully I'll get to upload this into my YouTube channel, which is It's the George Life. If you just search that on YouTube, it comes up. I think the channel's actually called G Matthews, but I'm working out how YouTube works. I've actually had my YouTube channel for years. I've had the YouTube channel for 12 years, but I've never uploaded to it in 10 of those 12 years. So it's something I'm getting back used to. So thanks for the questions. Send me more. If you want a volume 4, shout out. Give us a shout on the comments on Instagram, comment on the YouTube video with more questions, and I'll give you guys a shout out and answer that question on camera. And again, you guys have asked for a tour of the model cars and the guitars. I'm doing that on a separate video. I'm just going to work out whether that's going to be Instagram Live or YouTube video. So let me know in the comments below which one you prefer. And thanks for watching. See you on the next video. Cheers.